exceed your ability to repay them within 2 years. That's a problem. Yeah, we can keep kicking this can down the road, but the can has been kicked down the road now for 7 years, and that's why you're looking at levies as big as you are in order to break even. At some point, I'm a taxpayer as well. I own a home, I pay property taxes, I know they're expensive. I took a pay cut and my taxes went up, and it hurt. But I, as a citizen, have a responsibility to provide for those as I was providing for. My education is paid for. And I want to make one more comment about dissolving this district. If there are people in this district who believe that dissolving it is the issue, I don't want you to think if you dissolve the district, you won't live in a district and you won't pay taxes. Absorbed into a neighboring district, all of which pay higher taxes than you do already. So please remember, you will not have the property tax bill disappear. In fact, you will more than likely pay more taxes if you're absorbed into a neighboring district. So please keep that in mind if there are people out there who believe that that truly is the solution. That's my piece.
John? Treasurer's report, please.
There were a couple things with you. I put some handouts on your desk before we started. Some of it is some historical levy results. And some of these we looked at a couple months ago. This actually expands on it a little bit, and of course adds the November results as well. A couple different things here, and I'll point these out to you. First of all, the 11 by 17 color spreadsheet. This has levy results by precinct from the May 2006 bond issue and each issue going forward. It's a little bit small, a little bit hard to read. It has everything on one page there. You can see the blue precincts are the ones that pass the levies historically each time. The other precincts don't. So you can kind of see the last 5 ballot issues, the same 9 precincts that passed each of those going forward. So that's on one page. To go to a similar looking document, this is 8.5 by 14 pages. This is actually a 2-page version of that same thing, so it actually just lets you read it a little bit better. And one thing I'll point out on here, if you look out on the second page, you look at the far right. There's some comparisons in there, the November 2009 results compared to the May 2010 property tax issue and also the November 2009 property tax issue. You can see in there the comparison precinct by precinct in terms of the percentage of yes votes that we had, comparing November this year to, again, to May this year and November last year. So you can see, for example, in the May 2010 comparison, every precinct either stayed the same in terms of percentage of yes votes or increased, some as high as 12%. If you compare it to November 2009, there were a few precincts that actually went down. We had less yes votes from a percentage standpoint this year than we did last year. So just a couple comparisons to some of the recent property taxes. Kind of see there how they do compare. A couple other things in terms of historical data. The next spreadsheet looks like this. It's 8.5 by 14. It's got some green highlighting in it. This is actually some historical data going back from 1997 to 2005. Again, I won't go through all these. Some of these actually did pass. There's a per improvement levy that passed on here. You do see the right in the middle of the page, the 6.9 mil operating levy. That was actually the last operating issue to pass in district. That was back in November 2002. And you see some other bond issues on there that did not pass, leading up to the May 2006 bond issue that did pass. Again, just some historical data to kind of give you some perspective on what precincts are passing, what precincts are not passing. And to take it one step further, in case you wanted to look at these at a later date or research some more, there's one more page of levy results. The Word document actually looks like this. This one actually goes back to 1975. It's not precinct by precinct, but it does have total yes votes versus total no votes. You can see the type of levy that's on there. So it goes back, like I said, 35 years here of history. So you can kind of see, again, what the historical results have been. You can see as you look through there, it has not been, the failure of levies has not been an anomaly in the district. Going this long without a passage is something new, but historically you can see where it's taken 3 or 4 or 5 times to pass a levy, even going back to the late 70s. Any questions on any of those? We don't have to go through every detail of that. You can look through that and feel free to call me or email me if you have any questions. Any questions specifically on that before we go into our next piece? The next piece I wanted to go over was Word document looks like this. This is actually a copy of the handout we passed out back at the September meeting, some of the information and cuts that the Commission had requested back for that meeting. We went through it in detail at that meeting, so I won't go through it all in detail here, but this is kind of a reminder, a summary of some of the budget cuts that were being looked at. Some of the main ones there were elimination of athletics and extracurriculars, elimination of teaming at the junior high, reducing graduation credits from 24 down to 20, and then also further consolidating by closing either 1 or 2 more additional buildings. So those are outlined in here, and you can, again, feel free to look through those as we try to make decisions here in the next month or so on what direction we're going to take going forward. Any questions on that before we move on?
Did these change any at all?
That has not changed, no. And in light of some of the requests tonight, we'll update this and add the additional things that you had mentioned here a few minutes ago, the requests, and bring those back next month. Next thing I wanted to pull up was the current version of the 5-year forecast. It's actually on the screen behind you, so you might want to turn your chair around a little bit. But again, on the 5-year forecast, and we've gone over this different versions here the last few months, but for anybody, you guys are fairly familiar with the forecast, but anybody who's not familiar with the forecast, this is just the bottom right corner of what you're looking at right here. There's 5 years of current data on here, projected data. This column right here is the current fiscal year 2011. You have fiscal year 12, 13, 14, and 15. There's also 3 years of historical data going back 3 years right here. The very bottom section of this is cash balances, bottom line cash balances. You go to the very top of the forecast, which you can't see here, there's actually line-by-line revenues, and then in the middle section is line-by-line expenses. And we're mainly going to focus on the bottom line cash here tonight, but wanted to look at some different scenarios. If there's other ones you want to look at, feel free to let me know if there's things we need to research and bring back and look again next month. We can certainly do that. We have until late January to pass the first resolution to put something on the May ballot, so we have a little bit of time here to do that. In this particular tab, we can look at some of the different scenarios. What we have in here right now is, in the forecast, is no changes from current, which that means obviously no recalls of any types of services. Also means at this point there's no additional cost reductions in this forecast. I will plug those in here in a minute, but right now they're not in here. And what this actually will show is, the first one here I wanted to show you was, if you look at the current levy that just failed. Started out at 10.95 mils and added 1.5 per year. That levy would have had us at a cash balance, a positive cash balance, and in the 4th and 5th year would have had some money probably to recall some services. Put that same levy back on the ballot in May 2010 and pass it, and at no point do you ever come up with the positive cash balance. Basically the difference is that you would have taken these these revenue numbers push them over one year sooner. So by losing, again, by losing the levy in November, pushes any chance of collection until 2012. So you push back your collections 1 year. What you have here is this is collection by year in this line, and this is cumulative collection in total. So again, just for the bottom line cash balances, you can kind of see the effect here. And obviously what we're trying to do is get to a positive cash balance in here somewhere in these out years. Another possible scenario, you keep the 10.95 mils on the front end. Actually, we'll skip that one for later. We'll save it. Make this 13.95 on the front end. You can see the results here still actually doesn't quite get you to a positive balance in that 5th year out. The current year we're in right here is right here. You see a small negative cash balance out here in the 5th year. Starting at 13.95 and adding 1.5 mils per year. One of the things we can do is in light of those budget cuts I just passed out, we can project that those cuts will be included in their next school year. So if you throw those in next school year, then take a look. Obviously makes a big difference because those cuts are going to enact right here. Good news in this situation, you've got some positive cash balances out here, which is what you're trying to do. Bad news in this situation is that you put those cuts into play in this year, and they're in play each of those years. So at no point, again, at no point have they come back in this particular scenario. And what you're looking at, again, obviously, anytime you have cash balances out here, what you're trying to get to, this is the funds that you have available at some point in the future for bringing back some type of services, whether it's graduation credits, whether it's busing or class sizes. This is the dollars you have to work with in that scenario. Look at some other scenarios. You can lower the millage from 13.95 on the front, maybe lower to 12.95. Change the increments from 1.5 mils to 2 mils. Again, positive cash balances here in the out years. Trade-off here, obviously, as you can see as we go, is that the lower the millage on the front end, the higher the increments have to be. So if we lower it from 12.95 to 11.95, change the increments from 2 to 3. Again, you have a positive cash balance, so you're going to see some similarities here in terms of what these cash balances are going to do in these out years. But again, as you lower the millage on the front end, you're raising the increments on the back end. And I don't know if you can see this line item, this line right here, but these are some of the options that I put together for millage on the front end, and then each annual increment. Look over here on the left side, you can see the total millage that's at the very end. So the one that just failed here was 10.95 and added a mil and a half a year. The total number would have been 16.95 mils in that 5th year. And what you're looking at here is, obviously, as you can see, with 13.95, adding that, you're at 19.95 in the 5th year. Each of these scenarios, you're going from 19.95, 20.95, 21.95. So looking at some pretty big millage numbers again to climb out of the hole. Next scenario, we'll lower it from 11.95 down to 10.95. And this one, you're actually adding 4 mil increments. You can see again positive cash balances in the fourth and fifth year. Pretty much the common denominator is that the 4th and 5th year, where you see the positive cash balances. Again, this does have these scenarios do have the cost reductions assumed in there. Again, the closing Mansville Elementary, reducing graduation credits from 24 to 20. Eliminating teaming at the junior high. So those cut options have all been factored into these scenarios that we just looked at. You take those cut options out, basically you wipe out these cash balances out here in the out years.